Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. Sometimes I forget to say that, and then I feel like people are like, this is my first time here, don't welcome me back, welcome me to it in the first place. But anyway, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my top 5 favorite matte foundations, and this is something that I've been wanting to do this for a while. I will say the majority of the foundations I do purchase are matte because I do have oily skin, but not all of them are as effective as I would like them to be. A lot of them are just good to provide nice coverage, but I do get super oily throughout the day. So with these, I do, yes, inevitably have to touch up, but I feel that these would be great for the summertime when it's hot and, you know, the oils really start to peek through. So this video is for you if you're someone who struggles with oily skin, who is acne prone, or who just lives in a super hot climate and finds themselves needing to touch up throughout the day. This video is for you. And yeah, I just felt this was the appropriate time to make this because summer is hot and oily skin is just it's a battle for us girls. I will say I do have a video that I posted on my channel over a year ago about how to keep your skin matte, and I go into different products, not only foundations but also powders and setting sprays and other tips and tricks. I will leave that video down below, and I'll also link it above if you're curious about other tips and tricks that I use to stay matte and to ensure my makeup is just the best that it can be all day long despite being in a hot situation. So yes, if you're curious to see my top 5 picks for a matte foundation, don't forget to please subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you know when I post, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. So the first foundation, I have spoken about this foundation time and time again. It is my favorite foundation of all time. It's a foundation I'm currently wearing on my face, and that is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation. I have the shade Natural Beige, but I've also worn the shade Sand when I was more tan. This is so good. It's oil-free, 14-hour wear, oil controlling, and photo friendly. It's a comfort matte, so I would say that if you're someone who's dried combination, you would also really like this as well because I feel like it imparts more of a satin finish. It's not super duper matte like some of these other matte foundations I'm going to talk about. It actually gives a really nice just smooth base. It's definitely medium to full coverage. The packaging is really cute. This is a Sephora exclusive, and I love most of the products in this peach line. Comes with a little pump. It's just so easy to travel with, and I love this. Like, it just gives you such beautiful coverage, and I honestly feel like it's the best of both worlds. If you're someone who does like a full coverage, then you can definitely build this up, but if you're someone who likes something a little bit more sheer, you can definitely just do one layer of this and get your perfect finish. Like, it's truly customizable, and this does claim it's 14-hour wear and it's oil free and oil controlling, and I already made that disclaimer that I do have to touch up inevitably, and I think if you're someone who's oily, like, it's just going to be inevitable. But this actually prolongs my makeup for a while because it is long wearing and I don't get flashback. It's just perfect. It's good for day to day. It's good for full coverage, like glam night out kind of looks. Like, it's just such a versatile foundation. It's $36 and you do get 1.6 fluid ounces, so you do get a little bit more for your money, and I think it's amazing. It's my favorite foundation for all of those reasons that I just mentioned. Next up, in the drugstore category, I gotta give it to the LA Girl Pro Matte High Definition Long Wear Matte Foundation. This comes in a variety of shades. It's a glass bottle pump. You can find LA Girl at Ulta, at drugstores. This foundation is $8.99, I believe, and it comes in a good range of shades. It's probably not the most extensive shade range. You get that issue at the drugstore a lot, but regardless, I still think this is a beautiful foundation, medium to full coverage, smooth long wear suede finish, and I would have to agree that this does impart a suede finish because it's not super duper matte. It's not as satin as this finish. It's definitely a little bit more matte, but it does give you a nice kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, like suede is truly like the perfect term. It gives you a nice flawless base to work with, and it's something that I just do 2 pumps on my brush, I buff it in, and I'm good to go. And I do have the shade Medium Beige, so if you're looking for something that is definitely matte but it's not super thin, it's not super liquidy, which I'm going to talk about like a different consistency in my next with my next foundation, this is a great one because the pump is really even, you get a really good amount of product, and it doesn't shoot out and squirt out, and it really just buffs into the skin very nicely. So if you're someone who's a beginner with makeup and you don't know what to do, but you're someone who's oily and you're looking for something that's not going to break the bank, I would highly suggest LA Girl Pro Matte HD Longwear Foundation. They do have a Pro Glow. Obviously, I have not tried that one because I'm a oily girl, so matte is like the way to go. And this is great. I've had this for over a year now and I'm still going strong. So this is a really, really good one. The one that's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, but I think this is one of the mattest foundations out of all 5. This is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation in the shade F7. It's just like this giant doe foot that's actually quite fun to paint on. And I love mixing this. It's super liquidy. I'm not even sure if you can tell just by the product on the doe foot applicator, but it is a very liquidy finish. And I love mixing this with other foundations because this is a little bit lighter. So I'll take something like my Hourglass Vanish Stick in Golden or my Jouer Essential High Coverage Foundation in Latte, which are a little bit deeper and more yellow. This has the perfect undertone to balance that out, so I'll apply some, and then as I showed you in my last video, my Ariana Grande makeup tutorial, which I will link above and below, I did go in with this and just dot this all over my face. And because it is so matte, because it is so thin and liquidy in texture, it does dry pretty fast. So you have to be sure that you're blending this in quickly. But with that being said, if you're someone who is super duper oily and you're using a mattifying primer, you're using a mattifying powder, you're using a mattifying setting spray, and nothing seems to work, I would highly suggest using this foundation. It's kind of weird. The full coverage concealer, its sister little product right here, I would say that this is definitely more matte than this. The texture of this reminds me of the texture of the e.l.f. Camo Concealer, where they're very paint-like, they're very liquidy, they're very thin, but they're very full coverage and they dry down super fast, so you have to work quickly. This is definitely a little bit more creamy, a little bit more emollient, and doesn't dry down as fast. So if you're someone who's looking for that, then this is your guy right here. But in terms of like what I can compare the consistencies to, I would say that these two are very similar. So if you're someone who wants something that's super liquidy and thin, reminds you of paint, but still will give you good coverage that you can build up, I would highly suggest checking this out. It's also affordable. You can find it at Ulta, and I think it's great. The No Cosmetics Mattifying Extreme Wear Foundation SPF 15 looks like this. This reminds me so much of the texture of the Peach Perfect Foundation, and it's also more affordable. So if you're looking for a dupe with SPF, I would highly suggest the Note one. I've traveled with this. It comes in a plastic bottle, but the pump again is super even. And I will say the packaging and everything else, like overall, I do really like for these foundations. Like I don't think there's a con for anything besides, like little ones that I'm speaking about here and there, but this foundation is really good. You can find No Cosmetics at Ulta. It's a little bit more on the pricey side. It's about, I think this one was $17 or $18. So it's definitely not drugstore pricing, but it's not quite high end. It's just like that little middle price if you ask me. And this is so good. As I said, it's a pump and it comes in a bunch of shades. I am in the shade 04 Sand. It does have SPF 15. I wouldn't say it's the best in flash photography, but then again, this is just one of those foundations that I would want to wear like day to day, like in the sun, whatever it may be. It's not something that I would necessarily reach for at night, even though the coverage is pretty good. What I love about this foundation is that, like I said, it really resembles the Peach Perfect Foundation in the sense that the texture is very similar and it imparts more of a satin finish. But with that being said, I still think this is great for oily skin. It's not extremely mattifying like the name would suggest. I don't think it's like bone mattifying. Like I do think that this is probably more matte than this. This texture is a little bit thicker. It glows on a little bit more smooth, but you can definitely build this up. I would say this is definitely medium to full coverage. I would actually say it's got a little bit more coverage than this guy, even though they're both medium to full. This is more on the medium side, and then this is more on the full side. But with that being said, they're both buildable, and pretty much all of these foundations that I'm speaking about today are buildable. So if you're someone who likes to do 2-3 layers of foundation, know that these are going to be really good for that, and they're not going to cake up because they're matte and they're oil free for the most part, and they're just really, really great. So I would say consistency wise, it resembles a Peach Perfect, where it's a little bit thicker, a little bit more emollient, but it dries down to a smooth matte finish without looking too drying. So if you're someone who's dry to combination, again, I would recommend looking into this as well. So yeah, it's just great all around.
Maple, come here.
By the way, this is so good. Like, so good. This is my life right here. This dog. She's very stunning, very sweet, very beautiful. Give this video a thumbs up right now for Maple. I mean, if you don't even like me, hopefully you like what I'm talking about and you can kind of get some advice here. But I mean, Maple honestly is just stunning. So, I mean, just perfect. The last foundation I want to talk about is something that's so good, and I want to do a full face of Target makeup and feature this because this is a Target exclusive, I'm pretty sure. Oh, bless you. This is the Haley's Reset Liquid Matte Foundation in the shade 4.25 Neutral. First of all, this packaging is so innovative. It's so easy to travel with because it's plastic, it's flat, and then you just pull off the top like this, and then you just squeeze it out. This is so good. I would say out of all 5 of these, this is the second mattest next to the Makeup Revolution. And the consistency is a little bit thinner, but I would say it's, I'm so sorry if this is not making sense, but I would say this consistency is a hybrid of the LA Girl one and the Makeup Revolution, where it is thin, but it's also suede-like, and it will also allow you to get a really nice finish and buildable coverage. So you can definitely layer this because it's not super thick, and it's so matte, but it's so beautiful in full coverage. I've used it in a couple videos in the past, and I really love it. I took it with me to LA a few weeks ago when I spontaneously went after the 4th of July, and it is such a beautiful buildable foundation. I would say it's medium to full coverage. All of these are medium to full coverage, and this is one that I have built up and I've not experienced cakiness. I've worn it to work, and this is one that I do feel like lasts a super long time, and it's just beautiful. Like, this is a great brand, and I love supporting and just discovering more indie brands. It's just really good. I will say, if you're dry, I'm not sure if you're gonna love this like I feel like you would probably love these two or even this one. This is definitely, as I've said, out of these 5, probably the second most matte. So definitely just use a hydrating primer underneath, and keep in mind too that just because these foundations claim to be matte does not mean that you cannot customize the finish. Yes, for me as someone who's oily, you can obviously use a mattifying powder, a mattifying setting spray, and other elements to really like customize your finished look. You can use a dewy primer, you can use a dewy setting spray, you can use a powder that's not going to dry your skin out. So you can really just customize your finished look with everything else that you incorporate in your makeup routine. Like, just because a foundation is matte does not mean you're going to have matte, dry, cakey skin, like, for sure. So keep that in mind. And then I also wanted to mention 3 runner-ups because I obviously didn't want to just show you my entire collection because I just feel like that would be kind of pointless. The IT Cosmetics CC Cream Matte, the Wet n Wild Photo Focus, and the Catrice All Matte Plus Shine Control Makeup. These are my top 3 favorite runner-ups, where they're good and they're mattifying, but I don't think they're as mattifying or as good for the reasons that I mentioned about these other products. So yeah, but that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave me your favorite matte foundation below, because honestly, I am always on the hunt for a new foundation. Just because I love what I've got does not mean that I'm not open to trying new things in this ever so expanding makeup world that we live in. But yeah, leave me your suggestions down below, and thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Mwah! Bye!